The breaking point. The Galactic Coalition had existed for over 12,000 years, bringing together 27 sentient species across 14 spiral arms of the Milky Way. Their advanced technologies, unified governments, and shared knowledge had created an era of unprecedented prosperity and peace. Humanity, having only achieved faster-than-light travel a mere century ago, was the newest addition to this cosmic brotherhood, and by far the least respected. Primitive, the Valthosians called them with their clicking mandibles. Unpredictable, warned the crystalline Quarians. Temporary, dismissed the long-lived Iridians, who measured their lifespans in millennia. Humans were tolerated, not welcomed, given observer status, not membership, allowed to establish colonies on the fringes, but never in the rich central systems. Earth's ambassadors smiled through gritted teeth at diplomatic functions while accepting scraps from the Coalition's table. Commander Elena Reyes of the Earth Diplomatic Corps understood this reality better than most. Standing at the viewport of the diplomatic vessel Concordia, she watched the massive Coalition headquarters station orbit the neutral world of Nexus Prime. Its gleaming silver spires and interconnected rings represented everything humanity aspired to join, and everything that remained frustratingly out of reach. Commander, incoming transmission from Coalition Central, her communications officer reported. Priority Alpha. Elena straightened her uniform. Priority Alpha was unprecedented. The Coalition barely acknowledged human communications at all. On screen, she ordered. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing not the expected Valthosian ambassador, but the Supreme Arbiter himself, Corvin Mal, the ancient Iridian who had led the Coalition for over 2 centuries. Commander Reyes, he began without preamble, his translucent skin revealing the pulsing of multiple hearts. A situation has developed that threatens multiple Coalition worlds. The Nexus stellar cluster is experiencing gravitational anomalies that our models cannot explain. Within 48 standard hours, we project 11 inhabited systems will experience catastrophic tidal forces. Elena frowned. I'm not sure why you're telling me this, Arbiter. Earth has no colonies in that cluster. No, but you have something else. The Iridian's voice grew cold. Humans possess unique experience with disaster scenarios. Your species has survived countless self-inflicted catastrophes. Climate collapse, nuclear exchanges, biological warfare. You understand survival when systems fail. The realization struck Elena like a physical blow. You're not warning us. You're asking for help. The Arbiter's pale eyes narrowed. The Coalition requires your consultation. Within hours, Elena found herself in the Crisis Command Center, surrounded by representatives from species that had previously barely acknowledged her existence. Holographic models showed the affected systems: 3 Valthosian agricultural worlds, 4 Quarian mining colonies, 2 Iridian research outposts, and 2 smaller settlements of Coalition allies. The gravitational waves originated here, explained the Quarian scientist, pointing to what appeared to be empty space. They're intensifying exponentially. We've evacuated what we can, but 11 billion lives remain in jeopardy. Why not complete the evacuations? Elena asked. The room fell silent before the Valthosian General Kizd answered. Our evacuation fleets have begun experiencing drive failures when approaching affected systems. Something is interfering with our standard technologies. Elena studied the data. These aren't natural phenomena. The wave patterns are too regular, too precise. Impossible, dismissed a Quarian scientist. No known technology could affect gravitational fields at this scale. No known Coalition technology, Elena corrected. She took a deep breath. Earth faced something similar 70 years ago. We called it the Graviton Crisis. It nearly destroyed our solar system. Now she had their attention. Every alien eye in the room focused on her. Our solution wasn't elegant, but it worked. We developed gravitational dampening fields, crude technology by your standards, but effective against precisely these kinds of anomalies. The Iridian Arbiter's voice was skeptical. If you possessed such technology, why haven't you shared it with the Coalition? Elena met his gaze evenly. We've attempted to share dozens of technologies. Each time, our applications were rejected as primitive approximations of existing Coalition tech. Uncomfortable silence fell across the chamber. Everyone present knew it was true. Can you implement this technology now? The Arbiter finally asked. Yes, Elena replied. But I'll need resources, ships, and full authority to operate without interference. Against all precedent, they agreed. Within 12 hours, Earth ships were deployed across the affected systems. Elena coordinated from the command vessel Resilience, where her hastily assembled team worked alongside reluctant Coalition experts. The human ships were smaller, less advanced, and far less impressive than their Coalition counterparts, but they carried the one technology that might save billions. Dampening field generators online, reported Elena's chief engineer, Maya Wang. Deploying to the first coordinates now. On the main viewer, the small, agile Earth vessels moved into position around the Volthosian agricultural world of T'. The planet's oceans were already rising in massive tidal surges that threatened to overwhelm the coastal settlements. Activate on my mark, Elena ordered. 3, 2, 1. Mark. The dampening fields engage. For a terrifying moment, nothing changed. Then the massive waves began to subside. Across the command center, displays showed gravitational readings returning to normal parameters. It's working, breathed the Quarian scientist in disbelief. 1 down, 10 to go, Elena replied grimly. And we're running out of time. The crisis intensified as the gravitational anomalies strengthened. At the third planet, one of the Earth vessels was caught in a sudden gravitational spike and crushed before its fields could deploy. Elena watched the life signs of 37 crew members vanish in an instant. Yet they pressed on. Planet by planet, the human teams deployed their primitive technology, facing dangers that the more advanced Coalition ships couldn't approach. By the 20th hour, 7 worlds had been stabilized. By the 30th, all 11 were safe, though at the cost of 3 Earth vessels and 112 human lives. In the aftermath, Elena stood once again before the Coalition Arbiter and Council. The mood was markedly different now. Commander Reyes, the Arbiter began, his voice carrying across the Grand Chamber. The Coalition acknowledges the debt we owe to Earth and its people. Your intervention saved billions of lives when our own technologies failed. Elena nodded respectfully. We're grateful we could help. However, continued the Arbiter, our investigation into these anomalies has revealed disturbing information. He gestured, and a holographic map appeared, showing the affected systems and the pattern of gravitational waves. These were not natural occurrences. The precise mathematical progression suggests deliberate action. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Are you suggesting sabotage? Elena asked, her mind racing. Who would have both the capability and motive to threaten Coalition worlds? The Arbiter's ancient eyes fixed on her. That, Commander, is what we must discover. And for the first time in Coalition history, we are formally requesting Earth's full partnership in this investigation. Elena felt the weight of the moment. After a century of dismissal and disrespect, humanity was being asked to stand as equals. The gravitational technology you deployed, continued the Quarian representative, demonstrates an approach to physics that differs fundamentally from Coalition science. Perhaps other human innovations might prove similarly valuable. Earth accepts this partnership, Elena replied firmly, but as true partners, not consultants. The Arbiter inclined his head in agreement. So be it. The investigation begins immediately. Something unprecedented threatens our collective civilizations, and we must discover what or who is behind it. As the council session ended, Elena received a private communication on her datapad. The message was brief, encoded in an Earth military cipher. The gravitational signatures match our classified records. This isn't the first time this has happened. What you're facing isn't random. It's the opening move of contact. Proceed with caution. They're watching how we respond. Elena stared at the message, then at the coalition representatives filing out of the chamber. Something far bigger than a crisis was unfolding, and humanity had just been thrust into the center of it. The impossible victory. 3 days after the crisis, Elena found herself in a position no human had ever occupied, leading a joint coalition Earth task force from the newly refitted command center of the Concordia. The vessel had been upgraded with coalition technology, making it a hybrid of human innovation and alien advancement. Similarly hybrid was her crew, Earth personnel working alongside representatives from 7 coalition species. Report, Elena ordered as she entered the bridge. Cree, her Valthosian tactical officer, responded immediately. We've analyzed the gravitational signatures from all 11 systems. They form a pattern. Commander, not random attacks, but a message. A message. Elena leaned forward. Show me. The main display illuminated with a complex mathematical sequence derived from the gravitational waves. Dr. Lisfan, the Quarian physicist, gestured with crystalline appendages. When mapped in 5-dimensional space, the pattern creates a recognizable symbol, one that appears in ancient records across multiple coalition species. The display shifted again, revealing a spiraling glyph. The mark of the predecessors, explained Arbiter Corvin Mal, who had insisted on joining the mission personally. A species believed to have ascended beyond physical form millennia before the coalition formed. They were thought to be myths. Elena studied the symbol. This matches our records too. Earth legends speak of visitors who tested primitive human civilizations. We call them many names across different cultures. If they were real and have returned, the Arbiter said gravely, the question is why now? And why announce themselves through destruction? Not destruction, Elena corrected. None of the affected planets suffered catastrophic damage once we deployed the dampening fields. This wasn't an attack, it was a test. The revelation settled heavily across the bridge. The message continues, Dr. Lisfan added. Our analysis indicates the next gravitational event will occur in the Helios system. Elena froze. Helios. That's Earth's solar system. Yes, confirmed the Arbiter. It appears your homeworld is their next target. The Concordia made the jump to Earth space within hours, accompanied by a fleet of coalition vessels. They arrived to find the gravitational anomalies already beginning, subtle distortions affecting the orbits of the outer planets. Deploy dampening fields, Elena ordered. Full coverage around Earth and the major colonies. As the fields engaged, something unexpected happened. Rather than stabilizing, the gravitational waves intensified, adapting to the frequency of the dampeners. They're evolving, shouted Dr. Lisfan. The fields aren't working. Elena watched in horror as Jupiter's great red spot began expanding, its massive storms growing more violent as gravitational forces warped the gas giant. They're anticipating our response, she realized. They saw our solution to the first crisis and prepared for it. The Arbiter turned to her. What now, Commander? Your world is at stake. Elena studied the data streams, her mind racing. If this is a test, we need to understand what's being tested. The first crisis tested our ability to respond to a physical threat. This one is testing our adaptability. She turned to her communications officer. Open a direct channel to the source of the gravitational waves. Maximum broadcast power. To whom am I addressing the message? The officer asked. To the predecessors, Elena replied firmly. A hush fell over the bridge. Attempting direct communication with a potentially godlike species was unprecedented. Channel open. Elena stepped forward. This is Commander Elena Reyes of Earth, speaking on behalf of humanity and the Galactic Coalition. We recognize your test and understand its purpose. You're evaluating our worthiness, our ability to overcome challenges and adapt. We demonstrated our response to your first test. Now we offer something different. She nodded to her science officer, who initiated a specially prepared transmission, a complex mathematical proof developed jointly by human and coalition scientists, demonstrating the unified understanding of the gravitational principles being manipulated. We choose cooperation over confrontation, understanding over fear. We invite dialogue rather than continuing this test of strength. For long moments, nothing happened. The gravitational anomalies continued to build. Jupiter's storms grew more violent. Then, suddenly, everything stopped. The gravitational readings normalized. Jupiter's storms began to subside. A new signal appeared on their communications array, a direct response. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as a form materialized before them, not physical, but a projection of pure energy in roughly humanoid shape, glowing with inner light. "We are those you call the predecessors," the being spoke, its voice resonating not through air, but directly in their minds. "For 100,000 years, we have tested emergent civilizations across this galaxy. The coalition has been observed for millennia, technologically advanced yet stagnant, unified yet isolated, powerful yet afraid. The energy being shifted, studying each person on the bridge. Humanity is different, young, adaptable. When faced with crisis, you do not merely apply force, you seek understanding. When confronted with difference, you embrace rather than reject." The arbiter stepped forward. "What is the purpose of these tests? Why return now after so long?" "Because the galaxy stands at a crossroads," the being replied. "A threat approaches from beyond that will test all civilizations. The coalition, for all its advancement, has grown rigid. You would face this threat alone and fall. Humanity brings what you lack: adaptability, innovation, willingness to evolve." Elena straightened. "What threat? How can we prepare?" "That is not for us to say," the predecessor responded. "Our role is to identify those with potential, not to determine their path. We have existed in the spaces between dimensions for eons, observing but rarely intervening. What comes next is for you to discover." The being's form began to fade. "The test is complete. Earth has proven worthy, not because of strength or technology, but because you chose understanding over fear, cooperation over isolation. The coalition would benefit from this example." As the being vanished, a final message echoed: "Look to the Andromeda spiral. The first signs will appear there within 1 galactic year. How you respond will determine the fate of all." In the days that followed, the coalition chambers buzzed with unprecedented activity. For the first time in its 12,000-year history, the organization faced a fundamental restructuring. Earth, previously marginalized, was now granted full membership status. Human innovations, once dismissed as primitive, were eagerly studied and integrated into coalition technology. Elena found herself standing beside the arbiter on the observation deck of coalition headquarters, watching ships from dozens of worlds moving through the bustling space lanes. "In 12 millennia, the ancient Iridian remarked, the coalition has never faced such change. Many resist it still." "Change is what humans do best," Elena replied. "It's how we survived on Earth through countless disasters. We adapt or we die." "A harsh philosophy," the arbiter noted. "But an effective one," Elena countered. "The predecessors were right. Technology alone isn't enough. The coming threat, whatever it is, will require something more. And you believe humanity brings this something more." Elena watched as an Earth vessel passed by, dwarfed by the massive coalition ships, yet moving with greater agility and purpose. "I believe together we bring it," she answered. "Your knowledge and stability, our adaptability and drive. Neither alone would be enough." The arbiter considered this. "In all my centuries, I never imagined standing as an equal with a species so young. Perhaps that was our greatest failure, seeing age and advancement as inherently superior. And perhaps our failure was resenting that view rather than demonstrating our worth," Elena admitted. A communication chime interrupted them. Elena checked her datapad to find a message from Earth Central Command. "Expedition to Andromeda Observation Outpost approved. Concordia assigned as lead vessel. Departure in 30 days. Joint Human Coalition crew. Commander Rice to retain command. "It seems our journey together is just beginning," she said, showing the Arbiter the message. The Ancient,